Alright guys, so it's been a little while since we've checked out anything from the company Truefree, but being a company that branches off from Soundpeats, which I'm a huge fan of, I always kind of have my eyes on different things that Truefree is releasing. And so their new release, which is the Truefree HF10, it's a wireless noise canceling pair of headphones, caught my attention mainly because right now you can pick them up for only $35. And as far as I can remember, I've not really tested a whole lot of wireless noise canceling headphones in this price range, but definitely not any that have performed the way that these have. So we're going to start with the looks and the design of these. They really do just look like a pair of Sonys from like their 700 series. There's nothing flashy here. There's nothing special. It just looks like a pretty bland pair of wireless headphones. They do fold down, they do swivel to lay flat. I do feel like there's plenty of padding, especially on the headband. The ear pads are plenty soft. It is a comfortable pair of headphones. Now it does use the physical buttons for controls, and I am happy to say that they do allow you to control absolutely everything. Some of the specs on these is they do have Bluetooth 6.0, so you are getting the latest Bluetooth tech. It does have multi-point connection. It also works with Truefree's app, which does give you some different EQ options that are already built in. You can customize the EQ settings the way that you want, and you can actually take the little sound test so that it just kind of adapts its own EQ based off, what it thinks your listening preferences are. There's also a gaming mode you can switch them into for low latency, and they also have what they call a movie mode, which technically is just like spatial audio. This is awful. Like, the spatial audio is not good, especially for music. It's decent for movies and TV shows, so it's not really something I would actually recommend using. Now, they also have a Find My Headphones feature, and they also, within the app, give you different controls over your noise canceling. So you have 3 different modes that you can actually use here, which is just like normal listening mode. You have active noise canceling mode, and then you have different modes in noise canceling. So you have indoor, outdoor, commute, and it also even kind of has its own AI, like adaptive mode, where it will just kind of switch the noise canceling based off the environment that you're in. So that's not something you would really expect for a $35 pair of wireless noise canceling headphones. And the noise canceling, it's really only good against lower tones, so AC units, engine noises, things like that. You won't have any issue with it trying to block that out. It's just the higher frequency. So people talking, or if there's a TV going on, which will again have like people talking, all of that is gonna just kind of come through like normal as if you didn't have noise canceling on at all. But the transparency mode on the headphones are also really good. So if you're in a work environment, you need to kind of hear the things around you, or if you're walking, you need to hear traffic, things like that. It's also a pair I could carry on a conversation and not feel like I have to take the headphones off. Just leave it in transparency mode. Those different type of modes I didn't expect to be as good as they were because of the price tag that these have. Now, as far as what they've included in the box, it does come with a 3.5mm auxiliary cable. That way you can just use these in wired mode. It does come with a USB-C cable, which you will need to use to charge these. But speaking of the charging, battery life is another thing I did not expect in this price range. You can get 125 hours of battery life on a single charge. Obviously, this is with the noise canceling off, but you still get about 85 hours with the noise canceling on, and these even have a fast charging feature where a 5-minute charge will get you 4 hours of use. And in my opinion, in this price range, again, that's kind of crazy. Now, the mics on these, if you're going to use these for taking phone calls, I feel like does a pretty decent job. It is using some form of environmental noise canceling to try to block out some of your surroundings, to just kind of focus in on your voice while making a call. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here. So today's going to be a pretty good day to test the microphone on these, because it is definitely a windy day. I can really hear some traffic off to the side. There's just quite a bit of noise. So this will give you a good idea of what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now let's talk about the sound. I am going to say that out of the box, I did kind of feel like these were a little too dynamically tuned, especially when it comes to the low end. I felt like the bass was a little bit sloppy out of the box. And I did also kind of feel like it affected the treble. It kind of toned it down some so it wasn't as bright. The bass, again, kind of being a little loose. Just, it didn't feel as accurate as I like to have my music. I felt like mids were fine. I think like they were left alone, vocalists with male and female vocalists and certain instruments never felt like kind of got buried in the mix. But I did feel like the best thing for me was to go into the app and kind of like fine tune these with the 10-band equalizer that it had. And I'm going to show you my settings here. What I did was I basically pulled out the brightness in the treble. I did push the mids slightly forward just to kind of give them a little bit more presence. And I still bumped up the low end because for some reason, even bumping them up in the 10-band equalizer still gave them better control. It didn't feel as sloppy as it did out of the box, but it still had just as much punch. So that just kind of fixed all of the sound issues for me. And the soundstage and the sound imaging, even with these being as dynamic as they were, I still felt like was pretty decent. Now, it only left me kind of feeling like I was in like a medium-sized room. So it's not one of those that makes you feel like you're in this huge concert hall. But again, for a noise-canceling pair of headphones, which generally already kind of makes you feel a little more closed in anyway, it does open up even more if you turn the noise canceling off because you don't feel like it's as closed in or as isolated. So my overall opinion is this. These are $35 right now, even though it says they normally retail for $50. But at $35, you don't get a case and you don't get smart sensors. So there are some features that these are going to lack. It doesn't have like high-end Bluetooth codecs either, which again, I didn't feel disappointed in this price range, but it is something I've kind of gotten used to having LDAC and some other things, and release higher end Bluetooth codec playback in other headphones. But it never kind of felt like these were lacking because what you are getting is a pair of wireless noise canceling headphones that have really good battery life. They have Bluetooth 6.0, so you're getting the newest tech there. There's plenty of noise canceling options depending on the environment that you're in, and there's also a lot of different EQ options, which, like I said in the talking about the sound, you can just kind of dial it in and get it to kind of sound a little closer to what you want. I'm not, again, a huge fan of the way that it was tuned out of the box, but it responded really well to the tuning that I had that I think for the price, it's kind of hard to complain. This is a pair that you can definitely take to the gym, or use outdoors if you don't want to use your more expensive pairs, or if you're just somebody that travels a good bit and you need to kind of dull out the engine noises so that you can watch a movie or listen to music. You don't have as much invested. And I always kind of recommend people having a pair like this just to not, put your more expensive pairs in, some situations you wouldn't normally want to use them. But again, I think for most people, this is going to be an excellent pair. And I really wanted to talk about these because I feel like when you come across a pair like this, when you can pick it up for as low as the price that you can right now, it's one of those that's kind of hard to pass up on. But guys, that's my video on the Truefree HF10s. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.